Warm greetings to everyone. This is your science book for class 6. Today we are going to read and know about chapter number 3, separation of substances. Before reading the chapter, let's know aims and objectives of the chapter. First, to understand the need for separation of substances. To study different methods of separation. Third, to know about solute, solvent and solution. To know about saturated solution. Let's know the keywords. First, churning. The process of separation of the lighter particles of a suspended solid from a liquid. Example, butter from milk. Second, handpicking. The method of separating slightly larger size impurities from a mixture with the help of hands. Example, removing stone and husk from wheat. Third, threshing. The process that is used to separate grains from stalk is called threshing. Winnowing. The process used to separate heavier and lighter components of a mixture by wind or by blowing air. For example, lighter husk particles from heavier seeds of grain are separated is known as winnowing. Sieving. The method used to separate fine small particles from bigger particles using a sieve is called sieving. Example, separating stone or pebbles from sand. Evaporation. The process of changing liquid into gas state on heating is called evaporation. For example, water changes into water vapor. Condensation. The process of changing gas into liquid state on cooling is called condensation. For example, water vapor changes into water droplets. Sedimentation. When the heavier component in a mixture settles after water is added to it, the process is called sedimentation. Example, sand settles down when mixed with water. Decantation. The process of separating the liquid layer at the top from the layer of liquid or solid below. Example, pouring out water from mixture of sand and water. Filtration. The process of removing insoluble substances from the liquid through a filter paper or any other filter medium. Example, separating tea leaves from prepared tea. Next, solute. Substance that dissolves in liquid. For example, when we add sugar in water, then sugar acts as a solute. Solvent. Substance in which solute is dissolved. Again, we will take the previous example that when we are adding sugar into water, the water will act as solvent. Solution. The mixture of two or more components that is homogeneous. For example, sugar and water means they mix up together and we cannot separate out the layer of sugar or water in that solution. Then we call it as a solution. Saturated solution. The solution in which no more solute can be dissolved in given solvent at a given temperature is a saturated solution. Now let's begin the explanation of the chapter. Our chapter name is separation of substances. So let's know the meaning of separation first. What is separation? Separation means removal of substances from a mixture of two or more substances. Example, separating stones from rice, separating tea from tea leaves, churning milk to obtain butter. Why do we separate substances? First, to obtain two different but useful components. To remove non-useful components. To remove impurities or harmful components. To group substances of different sizes. Now we will know about methods of separation. Separating solids from other solids. First is handpicking, second is threshing, third is winnowing, and fourth is sieving. Now let's talk about methods of separation. Handpicking. It is used for separating large size impurities like stones and husk from rice, wheat, or pulses by using our hands is known as handpicking. Second method is threshing. It is used for separating grains from stalks. Machines can also be used for the process. Now let's talk about winnowing. It is used to separate heavier and lighter components of a mixture by wind or by blowing air. Example, separation of lighter husk particles from heavier seeds of grain. Fourth is sieving, used when components of the mixture have different sizes. Example, pebbles and stones removed from the sand. Let us do the activities to understand the concept.
Hello students, this video has been made with the aim to perform activity to separate components of a mixture of two or more solids. So, I have taken a bowl of uncooked rice in a plate and I have taken different dals. I have taken here moong dal and chana. Okay, you can see here pink and yellow dal is also. Now add different dals in the plate. Add different dal in the plate and mix them well. Now try to separate the different dals. Were you able to separate them? Yes. The method of separating a mixture into its component by hand is called the hand picking. So we can say that the method of hand picking can be used to separate only those mixtures in which the components are mixed in a small quantities and it can be easily picked by hand. Children, now come to the next activity, that is sieving. Children, I have taken two bowls. In one bowl, I have taken wheat flour and sugar in the other. Now, mix these two things in a big bowl. I am mixing them. This is wheat flour. Mix these two things in a big bowl. Now, to separate this mixture, we will use a sieve. As you see the sieve, you have seen your mother use the sieve to sieving the flour. You might have seen your mother sieving the flour. Okay. Now, if you put the mixture above the sieve, the flour will fall in the vessels. You can see. Flour will fall in these vessels. You can see, wow, the sugar having big particles will remain on the sieve. You can see. This is known as sieving method. Sieving is a method of separating a mixture of various size particles. You can see this is the flour and this is sugar. So sieving is a method of separating a mixture of various size particles by passing them through a suitable sieve. Similarly, pebbles are separated from sand by using a larger sieve at a construction site. Children, I hope you understood these two methods very well. Thank you, children.
Now let's read about the methods of separation for separating insoluble solids from liquids. First is sedimentation, then decantation, and then filtration. First, talk about sedimentation. Separation of two components in such a way that the heavier substance settles down. If I'll take the example of sand and water, the mixture of sand and water, when we take it, sand being heavier settles down and the water with the dust, light dust particles forms the separate layer at the top. So when the sand settles down, it is known as sedimentation. Now we talk about the decantation. Separation of two components that do not mix with each other. For example, separation of oil and water. While water settles down being heavier than oil, the oil forms the top layer which is then separated by decantation. Okay, if we will take the example of oil and water, when we mix oil and water together, after some time you will see that water gets settled down and oil starts floating on the water. It forms the separate layer. Now this oil can be poured into some other beaker. So that pouring of oil and separating the oil from water, that process is known as decantation. Third is filtration. Separation of solids from liquids either by using a filter paper or a strainer. For example, separating tea from tea leaves using a strainer or separating mud from water using a filter paper. You can see the best example at your home that when mama prepares tea, then to separate that prepared tea from tea leaves, she uses strainer to separate it out. When she uses strainer and pour that liquid into strainer, the prepared tea comes in a cup and the leaves left behind in the strainer. So that process is an example of filtration. Sometimes we filter muddy water also using filter paper.
Now, let us perform the activity. Hello children, I hope you have performed the activity of hand picking and sieving. Now this is another video where I will be showing how insoluble solids in liquid can be separated. So I have taken a tumbler half filled with water. You can see. Now add some dry mud in the water. Add some dry mud in the water and stir the mixture. Mixture को हम मिलाते हैं. Now keep the tumbler undisturbed for at least 10 seconds. You know some solids are soluble in liquid while others are not. A mixture of insoluble solids in liquids can be separated using methods like sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Now you can see that the mud settles down at the bottom of the tumbler, leaving clear water at the top. The substance that settles at the bottom of a liquid is called a sediment, and the process of settling down of sediments is called sedimentation. Now take another tumbler and pour the clear water into it. You have separated the two components of mixture with the clear water and mud in the other tumbler. And the process of pouring out of liquid without disturbing the sediment is called decantation. Beta, after these two methods, we use filtration process. This time I don't have filter paper, so this water can be filtered by the filter paper. So we can take another method. In the morning while making tea for the family, your mother separate tea from the tea leaves. मैंने यहाँ पहले से ही चाय बनाई भी है. So I have a strainer. She does this through the process of filtration. For this needs strainer which acts as a filter paper. I am just pouring. You can see the big particles of the tea leaves will remain on the strainer while tea gets poured in the glass. So you have seen all these three processes: sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Children, I hope you have understood this content very well through activity and experiment. I hope you will also do at home. Thank you, children.
Methods of separation for separating soluble solids from liquids. So we have two processes here or methods here: evaporation and condensation. Evaporation. Evaporation is used when we want to get back a substance that has been dissolved. For example, let's see getting salt out of salty water. The salty water is put into an evaporating basin or any shallow dish such as a saucer. It is left in a warm place and the water evaporates, leaving behind the salt crystals. This is the way how we get salt from seawater also. Shallow pits are made and seawater is collected into that pit. Now with the help of sun rays, the water gets evaporated, leaving behind the salt crystals in those pits where we have collected the seawater. Condensation. Condensation is the process by which a substance changes from the gas phase to the liquid phase. For example, water vapor condenses into liquid water after making contact with the surface of a cold bottle. Condensation on a window during a rain shower.
Let us learn this with the help of an activity. Hello children, this video has been created to know about the methods of separating soluble solids from liquids. There are two methods that is evaporation and condensation. So first of all, here I have taken a saucepan with 50 ml of water and I have taken some salt here. Now I am going to dissolve some salt in it. Now I will heat the water. Let the water evaporate completely. Children, Wow, this is a magic. Now you can observe that the water has evaporated completely. Is there a white residue left behind in the dish or vessels? Yes, you can see. Now scrap it out and taste it. Scrap it out and taste it. You can see this salt. Very good. Is it salty? You can taste it. Yes, it is salty. So children, you can see salt can be separated from a mixture of salt and water by evaporation. Children, let us learn with the help of an activity. First of all, you take a dry glass or a tumbler. You can see it is completely dry. Now, pour some icy water into it. I am pouring some icy water into it. After some time, you will see droplets of water outside surface of the glass. Children, condensation is actually the reverse process of evaporation. In evaporation process, water change into water vapor on heating, and condensation is the process where water vapor change into water on cooling. You can see after some time you will see small droplets of water outside surface of the glass. This happens because water vapor on coming in contact with cold surface condenses to form water. You will have to wait for some time.
Now let's know about saturated solution. Before discussing what is saturated solution, let's talk about the keywords involved in this term. Solute, substance that dissolves in liquid. Solvent, substance in which solute is dissolved. And the solution is the mixture of two or more components that is homogeneous. Now let's proceed and know about the saturated solution. Can water dissolve any amount of a substance? Water dissolves different amounts of soluble substances in it. A saturated solution is one in which no more of that substance can be dissolved. It means in a saturated solution, when we added solute in a solvent, to some extent the solute will get dissolved in solvent. But after a time, the solute will stop dissolving in it. Then we call that the solution has been reached to its saturation point. It means that when no more of that substance or no more solute can be dissolved further in the solvent, we call that solution as saturated solution. Now, if we want to add more of a substance in that, then we have to heat the solution, which help the intermolecular force between the molecules become weak, and then more solute can be added as they will get more space between the molecules. So I hope you have understood that what is saturated solution, and if we want to add more solute into saturated solution, we have to heat the solution, saturated solution, and then only we can add more solute into it.
Let us perform an activity. Hello children, this video is created with the aim to prepare a saturated solution of salt in water. A solution in which no more solute can be dissolved at a given temperature is called a saturated solution. But what is solute, solvent and solution? A substance that dissolves in a liquid is called a solute. Here salt is the solute. You can see here salt is the solute, and the substance in which a solute dissolves is called a solvent. Here salt dissolve in water. I am dissolving some salt. So water is the solvent. Water is the solvent. Children, again I add another teaspoonful of salt and stir. Keep on adding a few teaspoonful of salt and keep stirring it. Do you notice that some salt remains undissolved at the bottom of the beaker? You can see. Now heat this solution and note your observation. So salt dissolves in water when a small quantity of it is added to water. On adding more salt, it does not dissolve in water and a saturated solution is formed. On heating this solution, salt dissolves again. You can see it will dissolve after some time. Means solubility of common salt increases on increasing the temperature. Water dissolves different substances in different amount. You can take anything. You can take sugar also. You can take baking powder also. You can see now salt is dissolving. So children, if we keep on adding salt to water, eventually a state is reached when no more salt dissolve in water and the solution is now said to be saturated solution.
There is an assignment for you. Kindly solve it and clear your concept of chapter number 3. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you have understood chapter separation of substances.